I was talking with a friend the other day about the election. Neither of us had any direct evidence we could point to, but both of us just know that there's something fishy going on. We're being asked to believe too many improbable occurrences, but our life experience won't let us believe them. I used the example of watching a magician do things that defy the laws of nature. You know that he's tricking you, but you can't prove that he's tricking you. The election feels that way, doesn't it? If you see an illusionist levitate somebody, you don't accept it as magic just because you can't put your finger on exactly how he pulled it off. Our experience as humans tells us that nobody can temporarily suspend gravity. So the appearance of a floating body is evidence of trickery, even without proof. The next day, I came upon an article in The Federalist by J.B. Shirk. He lists a bunch of these highly unlikely particulars, and he even uses the metaphor of magic himself. So grab a cup of coffee and let me read the article to you. Five more ways Joe Biden magically outperformed election norms. Subtitled, Surely the journalist class should be intrigued by the historic implausibility of Joe Biden's victory, that they are not is curious, to say the least. Okay, here we go. In all the excitement among objective journalists for Joe Biden's declared victory, reporters are missing how extraordinary the Democrats' performance was in the 2020 election. It's not just that the former vice president is on track to become the oldest president in American history, it's what he managed to accomplish at the polls this year. Candidate Joe Biden was so effective at animating voters in 2020 that he received a record number of votes, more than 15 million more than Barack Obama received in his reelection of 2012. Amazingly, he managed to secure victory while also losing almost every bellwether county across the country. No presidential candidate has been capable of such electoral jujitsu until now. While Biden underperformed Hillary Clinton's 2016 totals in every urban county in the United States, he outperformed her in the metropolitan areas of Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Even more surprising, the former VP put up a record haul of votes despite Democrats' general failure in local House and state legislative seats across the nation. He accomplished all of this after receiving a record low share of the primary vote compared to his Republican opponent heading into the general election. Clearly, these are tremendous and unexpected achievements that would normally receive sophisticated analysis from the journalist class, but have somehow gone almost unmentioned during the celebrations at news stations in New York City and Washington, D.C. The massive national political realignment now taking place may be one source of these surprising upsets, yet still, to have pulled so many rabbits out of his hat like this, nobody can deny that Biden is a first-rate campaigner and politician, the likes of which America has never seen before. Let's break down just how unique his political voodoo has been in 2020. 1. 80 million votes. Holy moly, a lot of Americans turned out for a Washington politician who's been in office for nearly 50 years. Consider this, no incumbent president in nearly a century and a half has gained votes in a re-election campaign and still lost. President Trump gained more than 10 million votes since his 2016 victory, but Biden's appeal was so substantial that it overcame President Trump's record support among minority voters. Biden also shattered Barack Obama's own popular vote totals, really calling into question whether it was not perhaps Biden who pulled Obama across the finish lines in 2008 and 2012. Proving how sharp his political instincts are, the former VP managed to gather a record number of votes while consistently trailing President Trump in measures of voter enthusiasm. Biden was so savvy that he motivated voters unenthusiastic about his campaign to vote for him in record numbers. It's quite an accomplishment, Joe. 2. Winning despite losing most bellwether counties. Biden is set to become the first president in 60 years to lose the states of Ohio and Florida on his way to election. For a century, these states have consistently predicted the national outcome, and they have been considered roughly representative of the American melting pot as a whole. Despite national polling giving Biden a lead in both states, he lost Ohio by 8 points and Florida by more than 3. For Biden to lose these key bellwethers by notable margins and still win the national election is newsworthy. Not since the mafia allegedly aided John F. Kennedy in winning Illinois over Richard Nixon in 1960 has an American president pulled off this neat trick. Even more unbelievably, Biden is on his way to winning the White House after having lost almost every historic bellwether county across the country. The Wall Street Journal and the Epoch Times independently analyzed the results of 19 counties around the United States that have nearly perfect presidential voting records over the last 40 years. President Trump won every single bellwether county except Clallam County in Washington. Whereas the former VP picked up Clallam by about 3 points, President Trump's margin of victory in the other 18 counties averaged over 16 points. In a larger list of 58 bellwether counties that have correctly picked the president since 2000, Trump won 51 of them by an average of 15 points, while the other 7 went to Biden by around 4 points. Bellwether counties overwhelmingly chose President Trump, but Biden found a path to victory anyway.
Good evening tonight from Squim in Clallam County. Going into this most recent election, it was one of 19 counties nationwide with a perfect voting record in the presidential election, dating back to 1980. Tonight, it has a distinction like no other. It may be strange to think this corner of the state can also be squarely in the middle.
We have a good mix. We're just rural enough, but we're also city-fied enough.
There is firm evidence today this county is unique.
I guess we're just smart that way.
Clallam County voters have always had it right, dating back to 1980 when Ronald Reagan got more votes than Jimmy Carter. He did it again 4 years later against Walter Mondale. Then in 1988, George Bush got 77 more votes than Michael Dukakis. Bill Clinton won this county in 92 and 96. George W. Bush did the same in 2000 and 2004. Barack Obama then was victorious in Clallam County in 2008 and 2012. And yes, just 4 years ago, Donald Trump won Clallam County by a little over 3 points. But wait, there's more. In this election, Clallam County picked Joe Biden by 5.5 points. Of the other perfect counties, they all chose Donald Trump, whether that means Essex County, Vermont, Sawyer County, Wisconsin, or Vigo County, Indiana.
I'm amazed to know that we're the only one.
18 of the 19 picked Donald Trump in this election. Clallam County did not.
Well, I think it shows the action-oriented attitude of people here.
Let's move this up. 3, Biden trailed Clinton, except in a select few cities. Patrick Basham, a pollster with an accurate track record and the director of the Democracy Institute in D.C., highlighted 2 observations made by fellow colleagues, polling guru Richard Barris of Big Data Poll and Washington Post election analyst Robert Barnes. Barris noted a statistical oddity from 2020's election returns. Quote, Biden underperformed Hillary Clinton in every major metro area around the country, save for Milwaukee, Detroit, Atlanta, and Philadelphia, unquote. So that's Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, and Pennsylvania. Interesting. Barnes added that in these, quote, big cities and swing states run by Democrats, the vote even exceeded the number of registered voters, unquote. In the states that mattered most, so many mail-in ballots poured in for Biden from the cities that he put up record-breaking numbers and overturned state totals that looked like comfortable leads for President Trump. If Democrats succeed in eliminating the Electoral College, Biden's magic formula for churning out overwhelming vote totals in a handful of cities should make the Democrats unbeatable. 4. Biden won despite Democrat losses everywhere else. Randy DeSoto noted in the Western Journal that, quote, Donald Trump was pretty much the only incumbent president in U.S. history to lose his re-election while his own party gained seats in the House of Representatives. Now that's a Biden miracle. In 2020, the Cook Political Report and the New York Times rated 27 House seats as toss-ups going into Election Day. Right now, Republicans appear to have won all 27. Democrats failed to flip a single state House chamber, while Republicans flipped both the House and Senate in New Hampshire and expanded their dominance of state legislatures across the country. Christina Polizzi, a spokesperson for the Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee, went so far as to state, quote, "It's clear that Trump isn't an anchor for the Republican legislative candidates. He's a buoy," unquote. Amazingly, Biden beat the guy who lifted all other Republicans to victory. Now that's historic. And finally, 5. Biden overcame Trump's commanding primary vote. In the past, primary vote totals have been remarkably accurate in predicting general election winners. Political analyst David Chapman highlighted 3 historical facts before the election. First, no incumbent who has received 75% of the total primary vote has lost re-election. Second, President Trump received 94% of the primary vote, which is the 4th highest of all time, higher than Dwight Eisenhower, Nixon, Clinton, or Obama. In fact, Trump is only one of 5 incumbents since 1912 to receive more than 90% of the primary vote. Third, Trump set a record for most primary votes received by an incumbent when more than 18 million people turned out for him in 2020. The previous record held by Bill Clinton was half that number. That's the primary we're talking about. For Biden to prevail in the general election, despite Trump's historic support in the primaries, turns a century's worth of prior election data on its head. Joe Biden achieved the impossible. It's interesting that many more journalists aren't pointing that out. So that was from J.B. Shirk. Good article. All right, let's close this out. Illusion, sleight of hand, too many things that just don't add up. Can we prove how the trick was pulled off? Or do we have to grudgingly leave the theater scratching our heads? Listen, nobody knows if President Trump is pulling a rope-a-dope right now, or if he's just giving us time to process our disappointment and anger. But even if we've lost this one, we're not without a few tricks up our own sleeves. If Joe Biden is sworn in, he will be a historically ineffective president. He'll inherit a deeply divided party and will have to watch as 4 years of Democrat Party dirty deeds are exposed one by one. The election is just the tip of a very nasty iceberg. History will see Donald Trump as an engine of unstoppable, defiant Americanism, sandwiched between the engineered decline of the Obama years and the corruption and fecklessness Biden will undoubtedly come to represent. If this is the hand we are dealt, it's not a bad batch of cards. Joe will bumble along for 2 years, and then the down-ballot successes of Republicans this season will explode into a red tsunami at the midterms. I've said many times that Donald Trump is not a political figure. He's a cultural figure, and he has changed the culture of conservative politics forever. Anybody who wishes to lead us in the future had damn well better know that the years of hangdog acceptance are over. No more standing passively by while the control freak party chips away at everything that's made us great. I'll see you guys on the other side of Thanksgiving. And though my family's plans have been canceled by West Coast totalitarians, I will nonetheless give thanks for this fantastic, miraculous country, and for all of you, and for the privilege of commenting here throughout the 4 least likely and most incredible years that American politics has ever seen. Have a wonderful holiday. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel and then click the little bell to get notifications.